Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm going to reveal my latest thoughts of my team ahead of game week 1. With transfers made by clubs, with rumours of players leaving and some pre-season games under their belt for many players. My thoughts from my previous team reveal video, which I think I was one of the first ones on Fantasy Football Scout's channel to reveal their team. So it was just when the game launched. Lots of change, basically. So, I mean, there's going to be a caveat with this one as well. Lots will change from this one. But this is sort of my latest thinking, really, and taking into account some of the developments that have happened over the summer so far. What I'll do is I'll do a quick recap of my first draft. Look at the players who are leaving that. I'm not considering. And also new strategies, different players. And then I'll reveal a team that I've got with only Haaland, no Salah. So my original team had both, to see what I can do with that. And then I'll reveal what is probably my current thinking, because I'm going to find it difficult to go without Salah and Haaland. So I've got two versions of this with a minor tweak involving two mid-table teams that I'll mention a bit later that are important early on with the fixtures. I'll also give my thoughts on wildcarding. So a lot of my I've been able to, with summer going, the weeks passing, I've managed to look at sort of the fixtures a bit more and give my thoughts on those wildcarding cards. And also, the importance of carrying transfers into a wildcard, I think, could be very key this season. It's a new trend, new strategy in the game, which we can now do. So I think it's good to take advantage of that if we can. So I'm a bit undecided on wildcarding game weeks 4 or 6. Both are on the cards at the moment with my current drafts and thinking. And the reason why I'd like to do it so early is because I just think there is so much up in the air at the moment. There's so much up in the air with new managers, with different players coming in, different strategies, whole new pricing as well. We can't have them all. We have to pick and choose. Do we have Salah, Haaland, one in either? What about Watkins, Saka, Palmer, all of these other players that we might want? So we're going to have to sort of move around the fixtures and form, and that's not going to be that clear early on, which is why I have been looking at a few stats from last season, but it's all going to change this season. And I think that's the overriding key I always have at the beginning of the season. Try and be flexible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm definitely coming into this season thinking I'll be wrong. And I think if any content creators or anyone on Twitter or whoever says, I'm convinced of this, I'm completely right, they won't be. And I just think I'm more likely to be wrong this season than I have in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I think you can have so many different players with the pricing that it was more difficult to be wrong in a way, because you could have all those great players in. Also the fixtures, I think the last couple of seasons, certainly last season, I think the fixtures early on were really good for some teams, really bad for others. And this season is a bit of a mixed bag. There's certain teams like, say, Spurs, for example, great first 2, terrible after that. Arsenal have got some good home games within the first 6, but some absolutely awful away games in the first 6. So you've got to sort of temper, as a manager, you've got to temper your interest in these types of players. So as you'll probably see from this video, picking a team this year with the prices, the fixtures, all those issues up in the air, I think it's a real minefield. And so I might get a bit rambly at times, but I think that's how we're all thinking in our heads. So I'm sort of I'm sort of the living embodiment of all of our confusion, hopefully. Before we do that, just before we have a look at some drafts I've got together, a quick plug for the members area at Fantasy Football Scout. There's a 40% offer going on, other discounts. There'll be discounts during the summer. Make your tables, season ticker, comparison tool, lots of tools and gadgets, rate my team. So please, and also please press subscribe and to make sure you keep up to date with all our latest videos and podcasts wherever you receive them. Press like as well and leave a lovely review. And if you don't want to leave a lovely review, just step away from the keyboard. Okay, let's have a look at my previous draft. So this is from whenever the game launched. So I'm recording this 1st of August, and this was 2 or 3 weeks ago. When the game launched. So I sort of just went for who I thought, familiar players, good fixtures, not really thinking about wildcarding, not really thinking about the players in essence, and there could be some changes with them. So I had Henderson and Jose Sarr, because I didn't know when I was going to wildcard, but Sarr's fixtures at Wolves, I think he's 4.5, is really good value, but his fixtures are pretty bad until a sort of game week 9-ish. So I didn't know when I was going to wildcard. So that's why I had that sort of, I have Henderson, Crystal Palace's fixtures good, and then Sarr for Wolves, but I'm going to wildcard before that, so there's no need for Sarr. I've got Dan Burn in. Once again, I don't know there, but also the first fixtures, looking at them in a bit more detail, I just wonder where the clean sheets will come from. So they've got Southampton at home, great. Bournemouth away, and we can see Solanke scoring. Tottenham at home, well, see Tottenham scoring. See Newcastle winning, but Tottenham scoring. Wolves away, Fulham away. I don't know if I'm going to get any clean sheets there. I think attacking-wise, it's good for Newcastle. So I've gone off Newcastle defence. Got Konza in there because I just thought, Konza, I know him. He plays for England, mainstay of Villa. And he should do well in the bonus point metrics. I think it was fouls won he's particularly good at. But I thought, how many clean sheets are Aston Villa going to have early on? So they've got West Ham away, Arsenal at home, Leicester away, okay, that one, Everton at home, Wolves at home as well. So they get better, the fixtures, but the first couple, I just think, am I going to get any clean sheets there? Gvardiol gone in. I haven't gone off him. I still think he's good. He got an assist in pre-season so far, so he's back in pre-season. So that's the things I wanted from a player like him. Back in pre-season and doing well and getting on getting some goal involvement. Yeah, I think he was playing at centre back, but mainly because Man City don't have any centre backs at the moment. They're all away still. I like him. I haven't gone off him at all. Eze's in there. I'm still 50-50 with it. I know a lot of content creators are like, Eze, you've got to have Eze. But I look at that and it's basically still Palace. I know they're better than they were, but they came from such a low base last season that being in any way attacking is good. And Eze without Elise, Mateta's at the Olympics I just don't know whether he's going to be the one as well. So Brentford away, I don't think that's a good fixture for Palace at all. West Ham at home, okay, that's better. Chelsea away, I'm not sure. Leicester at home, Manchester United at home. So those two, particularly the Leicester game, but it's not as good a run as I thought. So I'm Eze could be in the team, but I'm not like married to him or anything. Gordon as well is there. Issues now. I've been reading on Twitter. I don't know how solid these rumours are, but it's sort of gathering pace that not only are Liverpool interested in him, but agreements have been made behind the scenes. I don't know. It could be by the time you watch this, Gordon is now a Liverpool player. Now, he was such an integral player to Newcastle's attack. It's slightly worried. I'm not put off at Isak, but it worries me about Newcastle a little. It suddenly makes players like perhaps Ashley Barnes at 6'5" a better option, a cheaper option for Newcastle. Gordon at Liverpool will be competing with, you've got Salah, Gakpo, Darwin Núñez, Jota as well. You got Szoboszlai in a slightly attacking central midfield role sometimes. We're not quite sure of that yet. But anyway, Gordon's going into the mix there. So suddenly his minutes are not assured. Under Eddie Howe at Newcastle, like with Saka at Arsenal, it's just like, Gordon would literally have to have his legs removed to not walk on the pitch. And even then, he would just be wheeled on. So at Liverpool, if he's got a slight niggle, a slight knock or something like that, well, just bring on another player and he won't get a match. So I don't know about him there. Obviously, he's been wisely priced because all of the other non-Salah attackers at Liverpool are all 7.5. So, it's a good price for him. But, to wait and see. There, Salah, he's scored, he's assisted in pre-season. He's doing Salah things. He's never not returned in game week 1. He's got Ipswich away. I don't particularly want to captain him, but the fixtures are so good for Liverpool. Ipswich, then Brentford at home, Manchester United away. Salah could do well in that. Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth at home. So I think I really want Salah. I'm going to find it hard not to have Salah. Haaland, same thing. He has got, he was substituted with a precaution. So he's not specifically injured, but it's more of a precaution there. But the quote from Pep was also much more about him being, it's precautionary that he wants him to start. João Pedro's in there. He's back in training now, but he didn't go on tour in Japan with Brighton. So that's an issue there. Sort of reiterates how he can be a bit injury prone. Isak is the captain. He is there. I'm not changed my mind there. On my bench, I've mentioned Sarr. Rodgers, he's a wait and see, but he could do a job if you're going for Salah and Haaland, especially if you want... I think he's very playable against West Ham early on, but then you can bench him. And it just so happens players like Nkunku, for example, have a poor first fixture against Man City. Chelsea's Nkunku, that is. But then they get much better. So it could be a nice little, mini rotation. Lewis Dunk, I've sort of gone off 4.5. I think Barco will play. So I think I'd prefer that 0.5 saving. And I think I'd go back, I'll revisit Lewis Dunk when Brighton have got better fixtures. They've got Arsenal, Manchester United in the first 6. They do have Ipswich and Nottingham Forest game weeks 4 and 5. But it's not overall, after that, it's not overall. I mean, they've got Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City from 6 to 11 at some point. So, and Horribelis I've got in there. As I said, I think I prefer Barco now. Okay, so they're my changes. I think it's good to revisit that and think what's changed, because I think all of you will be sitting there with a team you probably constructed, may or may not have constructed early on, and thinking, do I still want that? Okay, so here is one of my drafts I'm thinking of now. Okay, there's a big change here, and that is no Salah. So because there's no Salah, I've gone for another premium, but a slightly cheaper one. And I've got Son in here, even though I have publicly said that he's really old and decrepit and can't do anything. That's obviously, obviously still wonderful, but it's those first 2 fixtures, and then I like the swap from Son to Saka against Brighton. I think that will be good, because Son's fixtures in game weeks 1 and 2, Leicester away, Everton at home, and then it goes absolutely awful, Newcastle away, Arsenal and Brentford. So meanwhile Arsenal have Brighton game week 3, so that's a nice move there, especially if I was wildcarding game week 4. I think I quite like that. That's the sort of a penciled in move there. Okay, I'll go through this team for the benefit of those listening on the podcast as well. So I've got Henderson in goal, and I've paired him up with Flecken for now. I think they go well together. It's a nice rotation early on, whether I wildcard in 4 or 6. I've got Mikalenko, who rotates very nicely with Barco, actually. I've got, because of no Salah, I want Liverpool. So Alexander-Arnold. Who's the next best? Alexander-Arnold. I don't know where he's going to play. I need to see more of him in pre-season. I'm not wedded to him. Guardiola stays. Meanwhile, in midfield, so Eze is still there. I can still afford him. I'm still, jury's still out, but there. Gordon, once again, if he moves to Liverpool, I've got a question mark there. I might go for Barnes instead, or I might upgrade him or downgrade him, or look to, I've done a video on the number of 6 to 7 million midfielders, loads of them. Of which another I've included here, which is Nkunku. He is at home to Man City. I don't like that. But then the fixtures afterwards are absolutely brilliant. Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth and West Ham in the next few fixtures after that. Up front, got Chris Wood, Erling Haaland, he stays. Isak captain. That just hasn't changed. It hasn't changed from day one. Meanwhile, on the bench, as I mentioned, I've got Flecken. I mentioned that I prefer Barco now. I've got the next 2, Bergvall. So this, I done a couple of these team reveal videos, one with Mark Southerns, talking about Notts Forest options, which we'll come to in a sec for my other drafts. But also I was talking to Chai FPL, aka Dylan, who did very well in FPL last season. He had a lot of success without Haaland, but he was talking, he's a Spurs fan, he was talking about Bergvall. I think we'll get minutes there. Not necessarily to start, but for 4.5 will come on against tired legs, could get some returns. I think he could be quite a good midfielder there. There's nothing in the bank for this, so I need that. I can't go up to like a Rodgers with this unless I dip down somewhere else. So do leave your thoughts in the chat as well about whether you like this or any changes you would make. And the final one on the bench is Leif Davis at Ipswich. I do like a narrative in the game, and last season I really went for the Alfie Doughty narrative, and I think Davis is going to be another one of their very, very attacking winger who attacking player, defender, plays out on the wing, very an attacking role. On a lot of set pieces and should do well. So I like him to pair. I like him from game week 3. I don't like him for the first 2, but I don't mind if he comes on. He's got Liverpool and City first off, so I would bench him, but I don't mind because of the attacking threat if he's there on the bench. Game week 3 to 3, 4 and 5 are brilliant. Fulham at home, Brighton away, Southampton away. So whilst I don't know if he'll get clean sheets in all of them, he certainly could get at least one, and he certainly could get attacking returns in them. And he's certainly very playable there, and I might need that by game week 3 because of injuries. By coincidence, looking at Everton, Everton is still good, and I think it's I don't know. I've got a good choice there. This is good. This is deeper. This is what you get without Salah. You get a bit of a deeper bench. You've got players you don't mind playing. You will have different thoughts about this. So instead of Davis, you might prefer, I don't know, Anderson at Crystal Palace. You might prefer Konsa at Aston Villa, who you can play. And indeed, I could easily put Konsa in for Davis as well there. So I kind of like this, but there's a lot of pros to it in terms of depth. Not having Salah, but the con is that there's still some issues as well. So you would think not having Salah, oh, that's great. You can do what you like because you've got so much money, but you haven't really. It's only 2.5 million or so. The issues there, I think, Nkunku, ideally I wouldn't play, but there's none of. I'd probably go for Barco. So I would go for a 4-4-3-3. And I don't want to invest too heavily in defence. I think 3-4-3, 3-5-2 even, but 3-4-3 is probably what I want, ideally. So I would prefer... So I want Bergvall to become Rodgers, and I would have to shave 0.5 somewhere, which would be easy, because I would probably do that with a 4.0 goalkeeper and just hope for the best. Or you can downgrade Davis, or whoever you've got there, Konsa, to another 4.0 and go for 2 4.0s. Barco, Taylor Bellis. You've got there's a range of options. Have done a video on that as well. So there's lots of options for cheap defenders. Go and have a look at that. It's on the Fantasy Football Scout channel and a podcast, I believe. Hopefully it's out now already. Okay, so there's what you can do there. Quite a lot. Let's move on to I've sort of gone back full circle. The lure of Salah every time he scores in pre-season, and I just think it's easier to hop off Salah than get him. And the fixtures are so good that he could end up being amazing. So this is sort of what I've gone back to, but I've tweaked it, taking into account some of those developments over the summer so far. So Henderson stays. Mykolenko, I still like him. Importantly, though, Mykolenko still dovetails quite nicely with Barco. I've gone for Pedro Porro in defence. So I beefed up my defence a bit. So my original defence was a bit sort of 4.5s and Gvardiol, but now I've gone for Porro and Gvardiol. So I'll just read this out quickly and then I'll go back to some of the players. I've got Henderson, Mykolenko, Pedro Porro, Gvardiol, Rodgers, Gordon, Salah, Hudson-Odoi, Muniz at Fulham, Haaland, Isak captain. And on the bench, Flecken, Nkunku, who can come in for game week 2, Barco, who I don't mind playing this game week 1, and Davis is still there. So looking at these big changes here, Pedro Porro is the big one there. I do like Spurs look quite good in pre-season, and I'm not having Son. I'm not getting Brennan Johnson, although I could do. And so I want a bit of Spurs there. And I think even though Pedro Porro is going to concede, I just know he will. The attacking threat is still there. I do like those first 2. And then you can switch in game week 3. I really like this rotation of Davis and Porro. First 2 great, rest bad. Hey presto, get Davis in game week 3. You can put him in. and he can play and do a job there. There's still issues. Rodgers is not ideal West Ham away, but it's better than Nkunku at home to City, I think. And then Rodgers can go back to the bench and being a really good first sub, I think, because Villa's fixtures, they play Arsenal game week 2, but then it gets much better game week 3. Gordon, once again, question mark over there, wherever he ends up. Salah, I think I'm more keen on him now. Hudson-Odoi, I'm not sure about. I think he's going to be very attacking for Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest fixtures are really good. I was very persuaded by what Mark Southerns, who's a Forest fan, was saying in our team reveal video. They got Bournemouth at home, then Southampton away, Wolves at home. They do have Liverpool in game week 4, but then Brighton away in game week 5. They've actually done quite well against Brighton in recent years. So I like him, but I do think if there needs to be an attacking substitution, Hudson-Odoi will make way because there's a lot of wingers there. So I'm not totally wedded to him. Morgan Gibbs-White would probably be more secure and is on penalties, but I still don't know if I want to spend that much because it is basically, in the day, it's Nottingham Forest. It's the same issue I have. There's no Eze here. That's an issue. I have to downgrade somewhere. Eze is not affordable, but Eze could come in for Gordon if there's question marks over where Gordon ends up. Muniz, I'm okay with Muniz, but Muniz rather at Fulham. But I mean, I've seen Jimenez in the friendlies, and I know it's early days for the friendlies, but he's still there, so Muniz can still come off. And I got Muniz in the last day of the season, only for him to get 1 minute of game time, 1 point, and Jimenez do well in that game. So I'm not entirely wedded to him either. Haaland, Isak are still there, and Nkunku I'm sort of warming to. It's just a cheaper way in to that Chelsea backline. I've watched a bit of him because we couldn't get to see him last season because he was injured so much, but I watched a bit of him. I mean, he's a good player. So yeah, and just finally, here is another draft I've got, and this is what I'm stuck on at the moment, and this rectifies a few issues I've had. So this one is Henderson, Mikalenko, Pedro Porro, Gvardiol still, Rodgers, Gordon, Salah still, Andreas on penalties. Now I thought Andreas Pereira was off somewhere at Fulham, but it seems that he's going to still be there. But I'm going to watch this space because I'm sure. I might have dreamt it. I don't know. You get into that stage in pre-season. But if he is still there, he's on penalties and he's 5.5. So I really like him, and I much prefer Chris Wood, who I think will start this season. And because I'm going for an early-ish wild card, he can easily be moved. I can run away from Chris Wood easily to Armstrong, whose fixtures become better at Southampton from game week 2. So I'm looking for flexibility. I'm looking for players I can run away from. I like the fact I've got Rodgers there as a 5 million. I've got Haaland, Isak still, and Chris Wood. So Chris Wood and Andreas are the main issues. That means I can still keep Nkunku on my bench for that terrible opening game against Man City, and then it just gets better and better. You can just keep playing him until I wild card. Barco's still there, Davis is still there. So I've got a certain amount of players that I really like. But there's another player I really like, Dewsbury Hall, formerly of Leicester, now at Chelsea. I really like him. There is an option to go for him. I thought for a minute he'd actually disappeared from the FPL site, but until I realised Chelsea have signed so many players that they've got a page 2. And so Dewsbury Hall, 6 million. I really like him. Looks like Gallagher's off as I'm recording this to Atletico Madrid, which would leave him in an attacking sort of central midfield role that he did so well at Leicester. I really like him. I don't think I would start with him, but I can easily move down to him. So if Nkunku gets injured, which he probably will, I can move down. Andreas, I can move up fairly easily. So there's a lot of flexibility there. I still think there's a lot of flexibility having Salah and Haaland. Leave your thoughts in the chat below. Are you going with both of them? Are you going for neither of them? Are you going for one of them? And if you're going for neither and one, what more can you do? I've had a look at what I can do. I think you can tap more into that Spurs early first 2 and then move to an Arsenal, I think, a bit more. That Son to Saka, I like that. But yeah, leave your thoughts there. Do press that like button. It really helps us out. And do remember to subscribe so you can keep updated with our latest videos and podcasts. And also do check out offers at Fantasy Football Scout. thanks so much for your time. I hope that's been of use to you. It's actually been quite useful for me, having 20 minutes to sort of air my thoughts. And take care. We'll be back. I'll be back. Lots of videos and podcasts. So will the rest of the team over pre-season and for the rest of the season as well. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Bye.